colors, Melissa from Lovable Loops here. Today we are going to make part 2 of my Snow White, Crochet Snow White dress. In part 1, we completed the first 9 rows of the top portion of the dress. Today we're going to finish that, and we should also be able to get through the entire bottom portion of the dress in this part. And then the only thing after that we'll have left to do is to add the red sleeves. Okay, so in the last video, in part 1, we completed up to round 9. So you should have 9 rows, and your 9th row should have 60 stitches in it. So now for row 10, you're going to chain 2, and you're going to make your first double crochet in that same chain, space where you had joined, and you're going to be double crocheting 15. That's 1, I'm going to count 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. I'm going to do one more. Okay, and then in my next stitch there, I'm going to make 2 double crochet. And then I'm going to double crochet 29. here and then I'll count. And again, you were crocheting 29. I'll have that in the notes over the video. So locate your 2 double crochet. You're going to start counting after those. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 29. Perfect. Okay, now you're going to make 2 double crochet in that next stitch. Oops, only caught one part. There we go. Okay, 2. And then you are going to double crochet in the last 14. And I'm just going to count first to make sure I do have 14 left. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Perfect. You're going to join to the top of that first double crochet. All right, and at the end of round 10, you should have 62 stitches. Okay. All right, now for round 11, you're going to chain 2, and you're going to make 15 double crochet. So again, double crochet into that same space that you joined to, and then double crochet the rest. It's going to be a total of 15. Oops. And this is the last round where we are increasing. Okay, let me count here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, and 15. All right, in that next stitch, you're going to make 2 double crochet. 1, 2, and then you are going to double crochet 30. gonna count. So again, I was supposed to have 30, so I'm gonna find those 2 double crochet. I'm gonna skip those and count immediately after. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30. I'm gonna undo that next one, even though I'm about to remake that double crochet, but just to show you. So I have my 30, and now in this next stitch here, I'm going to make 2 double crochet. 1 and 2, and I should have 15 stitches left. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15. Perfect. Go ahead and make those last 15 stitches. All right, go ahead and join, and you have completed round 11, and you should have a total of 64 stitches. Now for the next 2 rounds, for round 12 and for round 13, you are just going to double crochet around. You're going to double crochet 1 stitch, 1 double crochet into each stitch. And remember, your first stitch always goes into that initial stitch where you join. So you join, chain 2, put your first double crochet in that first stitch. So for rounds 12 and 13, you're just going to double crochet around, and at the end of each round you should still have 64 stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and double crochet around for rounds 12 and 13, and I will meet you back here for round 14 when we are going to join the yellow yarn. All right, guys, we're back. So you should have completed up to round 13 with your blue yarn. So you should have 13 rows, and your last row or your last round should have 64 stitches in it. We are now going to begin the bottom portion of the dress, and we are going to join our yellow yarn. So I have the blue yarn here. I'm going to take my yellow yarn. Going to pass it through that loop on my hook, and I am going to make sure I have the working yarn, and I am going to chain 2. 1, 2. And you can tighten this up later. It's going to look a little loose at first. And what we are going to do now is we are going to place 2 double crochet in every stitch. So you, as usual, your first stitch is going to go in that same stitch that you had joined to, and you are making 2 into that first stitch, and then you are going to continue around, and you are going to place 2 double crochet stitches into each stitch from the previous round. Hook is the same yarn that I use when I make my Rainbow Bright wig. If you loved Rainbow Bright when you were younger, you should check that pattern out. I'll link to it down below. It's really fun. I'm thinking about making a tutorial on how to put the ponytail onto the wig. Now, if you daydream like I do when you're crocheting, you might want to make sure that you are putting 2 double crochet in every stitch, and you can see it looks like I've got 2 in each so far. And this yarn is slippery. You want me to make a Snow White wig or bow to go with this? Just comment below. I'd be happy to make a video. I'm always looking for new ideas of new patterns to design. I do already have a bow pattern that I made. I've made this before. I've made this just before, but rather than using yellow yarn, I added yellow tulle, and that also looked really pretty. And I actually ended up selling that on Etsy, and I think I had shoes with it, and I know for a fact I had made a big red bow to go with it. The lady that bought the outfit sent me pictures. It was really cute. Her daughter looked adorable. I tend to do that a lot. I think it's because I taught myself to crochet and I tend to hold the yarn differently. So you're not going to see me make a tutorial on how to hold your yarn because I only want to put out the best information, the most helpful information that I can, and that is certainly not my strong point. I tried to reteach myself how to hold the yarn, and my hands have grown accustomed to doing their own thing, and it's just muscle memory at this point. I think it would take a lot of work to reteach myself. it's okay. There are so many different ways of holding your hook and your yarn. You really have to do whatever works best for you. I mean, it's going to depend on your hand shape, the length of your fingers, just all of that. You can think of any other costume ideas too. If you've read my website, know that I love Halloween, and I think all of it's just fun. The scary costumes, the sweet little kid costumes, all of it. It's just fun. It's really fun to design stuff for Halloween. So if you can think of anything, any ideas, I'd love to hear them. I'm always asking my kids for ideas too, and they've come up with some pretty good ones. But I'm always open to more ideas and suggestions. We have a few road trips planned this summer with the kids, so I will have plenty of time in the car to crochet. Okay, so, alright, so you should have put 2 double crochet into each stitch from the previous round, and the reason we did that was because that's going to push it out a little bit. You can see how it's already turning outward to make it look like that dress, so it has that bell shape. So you're going to go ahead and join to the top of your first double crochet. Make sure you're not getting that chain. Make sure you're actually getting the double crochet that you made. Make sure you're using your working yarn, and then you can pull that yellow and blue yarn to tighten it. Actually, I'm going to snip off the end of the blue yarn there. Okay, so now for the remainder of the dress, you are going to do, let's see here, 9 more rows of double crochet. You are just going to put 1 double crochet into each stitch from the previous round. So if we just did this round correctly, we had 64 stitches in our last blue row, and if we put two double crochet into each of those, we should have 128 double crochet now. I am not going to count mine. I think I can see it's pretty clear. It looks like I got all of them. But if you want to count yours, you should have 128 double crochet, and this is row 14. You are now going to do 9 rows of just double crochet. So that'll take you to row 23, I believe. Yep, Okay, so I'm going to meet you back here after row 23 is complete, and then we will do our scalloped edge together, okay? So I will see you in just a little. All right, and we're back. Okay, so now you should have 10 rows of the yellow skirt. And now we're going to finish this dress at the bottom by making a scalloped edge or scallop trim. So you're gonna go ahead and chain 2. Now you're not going to put anything in that first stitch that you joined to. You're gonna go to your next stitch and you're going to make 4 double crochet into that stitch. Okay, now you're going to skip the next stitch, and in the stitch after that you're going to slip stitch. So pull your yarn through, pull it through your hook, and that's it. Okay, now you skip the next stitch, and in the stitch after that you're going to make 4 double crochet, and you're just going to repeat that pattern. So you make 4 double crochet, skip a stitch, slip stitch, skip a stitch, 4 double crochet. You do that all the way around. So there's my 4 double crochet. Now I'm going to skip the next stitch, then I'm going to slip stitch, then I'm going to skip the next stitch, and then I'm going to make 4 double crochet. Skip the next stitch, slip stitch, skip the next stitch, 4 double crochet. Skip the next stitch, slip stitch, skip the next stitch, 4 double crochet. Skip the next stitch, slip stitch, skip the next stitch, 4 double crochet. My kids are home from school now, so it's probably going to be a little noisier. Skip a stitch, slip stitch, skip a stitch, 4 double crochet. Okay, skip a stitch, slip stitch, skip a stitch, 4 double crochet. Skip a stitch, slip stitch, skip a stitch, 4 double crochet. A stitch, slip stitch, skip a stitch, 4 double crochet. Skip a stitch, slip stitch, skip a stitch, 4 double crochet. Skip a stitch, slip stitch, skip a stitch, 4 double crochet. a stitch, slip stitch, skip a stitch, 4 double crochet, skip a stitch, slip stitch, skip a stitch, 4 double crochet. Okay, so you're just going to repeat that around. Skip a stitch, slip stitch, skip a stitch, 4 double crochet, and then you're going to join and fasten off at the end, okay? So I will meet you back at the end to add the red trim around our sleeves. Okay, I will see you in a few. Okay, we're back again now. So now you should have finished your scallop trim at the bottom of your dress, and now we are going to do the trim around the armholes. Okay, so we're going to attach our red yarn, and be mindful of where you attach the yarn. You want to be working in this direction because you want the right side of the yarn facing you. I hope that makes sense. So when I attach my yarn over here, since this is the front of the dress, our joining seam will be in the back. This is the front of the dress. I'll be working in this direction. I'm going to join my yarn on the back side, just because I feel like the areas where you join your yarn tend to look a little less pretty, maybe. I mean, it looks pretty, but I don't know. I just prefer having all of the seams in the back. So this is the back here. So this is the left-hand side of the dress. I am attaching or inserting my hook just at the very base here of that armhole, slightly towards the back. I'm going to join my red yarn. And down here is going to require a little guesswork just because there's not necessarily, the stitches are a little odd down here. But the idea is that we're going to do 2 double crochet into each stitch, okay? So chain 2, go ahead and tighten that, and then do 2 double crochet into that seam space there. And the reason we're doing 2 around is because I don't want the it to end up too tight on the arms. So this will make it a little, the ruffles a little looser. So go ahead and crochet around. You're gonna get in there in between those double crochets that you made. This is a little weird because this is where we join the armhole, so you can't really see the top of a stitch, but you just need to get some double crochets placed in there. Space as well. 1, 2. Okay, and here now we do finally have our double crochets. So now I'm going to start double crocheting into those double crochets. So you're going to just put 2 double crochet in each. And you'll do the same thing for the other side. You'll attach your yarn, go around, put 2 double crochet into each stitch or each space like we did at the bottom there in the armpit area. And then we'll do our ruffle after, which will be just like the scallop that we did at the bottom of the dress. I'm looking at this one. I think I did half double crochets for the scallop trim to make them a little bit smaller. I think we'll do that again. Okay. I'm only gonna film this to show how to do this on this side, on the left side, because you're gonna do the exact same thing on the right side. However, I will show you where to join your yarn so that you make sure that you have the right side of your yarn facing you and the seam in the back. I guess the right side would be facing you regardless, but if you want your seam towards the back, probably not difficult to figure out, but I'll show you. Okay, and then again, that's not a double crochet. That's part of where we joined the armholes, I guess. So you're still gonna want to make sure that you get stitches in there so that it looks consistent around. So I'm gonna add 2 more there, and then I'm gonna be done. And that's just gonna require a little guesswork. But as long as it looks even throughout. And then you're going to join to the top of your first double crochet there. I'm going to pull that yarn tail tight, pass it through so that it's not in my way. Remember, you're just working with your working yarn. Okay, and now I'm going to do, like I mentioned, I think on the other dress I had done half double crochets for the scallop edge, just to make them slightly smaller. So I'm going to do that again. So I'm going to go ahead and chain 2. And then I'm going to skip that one that I'm working in, and in the next double crochet, I'm going to put 4 half double crochet. And I will link to my video on how to make half double crochet below. And then just like with our scallop trim down below, you're gonna skip the next one, slip stitch. You're gonna skip another stitch and do half double crochet. Do 4 of those. Oh, I think I messed something up there. Hang on. And I'm going to skip. Slip stitch again, skip again, 4 half double crochet. Get some more yarn here. That looks cute. All right, and then I'm going to skip, I'm going to slip stitch. I'm going to skip 4 half double crochet in the next one. 3, 4, skip the next stitch, slip stitch, skip the next stitch, 4 half double crochet in the next. Skip the next stitch, slip stitch after that. Skip that next stitch here, 4 half double crochet after. Skip a stitch, slip stitch, skip a stitch, 4 half double crochet. Skip a stitch, slip stitch, skip a stitch, 4 half double crochet. stitch, 4 half double crochet, skip a stitch, slip stitch, skip a stitch, 4 half double crochet, skip a stitch, slip stitch, skip a stitch, 4 half double crochet, skip a stitch, slip stitch, skip a stitch, 4 half double crochet, skip a stitch. That was a messy stitch I made there. Skip a stitch, slip stitch. What did I do? That doesn't look very good. Skip a stitch, 4 half double crochet, it's cute. All right, and then you're gonna skip a stitch, slip stitch, and then so sometimes this will happen and you'll have 1 stitch left, so you have to make a decision. And I think that it would look silly to try to squeeze another scallop in there, so I'm just going to slip stitch again and fasten off. Pull that through, that'll be secure. You just need to weave that end in. Now, there we go, can you see that? You'll have to go through and weave in all your yarn ends. And if you want to make this in a larger size, you can go back to the first video where we were increasing our rounds and just continue following that pattern. If you'll write it down, you'll just see that each round we're increasing by 2 evenly on the ends here. You can always add more rows to this. This was just 2 double crochet here, and then we just did 1 double crochet in each, so you could make this as long as you want. Now to do the other side, my recommendation would be to join here. So again, we have our joining seam here, so I would join in the back, and then you're going to do 2 double crochet in each stitch, and then in the parts where you're sort of in between stitches where we joined for the armpit, you'll have to do your best guess, but I would just try to get in there between those double crochet and do 2 double crochet between those stitches. Okay, all right guys, I hope this video was helpful for you. I hope you like how your dresses turn out. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask below. I am going to get this typed up, and I'm going to get the pattern posted on my blog, and I'll link to that below once I do. And if you have any ideas on other costumes, or if you wanted me, I had shown you earlier in the first video that I had also made an Elsa dress, a Cinderella dress, and a Belle dress. If you want me to do tutorials for any of these, just comment below. Please subscribe to my channel, like this video, and thank you.